What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and it's Friday in March, so that means it's time for another DM's Guild video. This time, we're going over the next thing that you wanted me to focus on, which was magic items, and I thought this would be a good way to do something else that everyone's been asking me to review for a very long time, and from what I've read through, with good reason, because the products are super high quality. And that, what we're going to do today, in this DM's Guild sponsored video, is Hammond's Harvesting Handbook, all 3 volumes review here. So if you want to see what's going on with those, hang around. Also, folks, I have a Candlekeep Mysteries giveaway going on right now to win this copy and 2 collector's edition copies. Links for that in the description. Also, there will be towards the end, if you hang around, it'll also be in the description right now, a coupon code going on right now that will last for about the next week or so. That'll get you 10% off an order of $10 or more. Each one of these is $9.99. So if you were to pick up all 3, you'd get that 10% off. So take a look in the description or wait till the end to hear the actual code that you'll be able to use for this week. So that being said, let's jump over to the DM's Guild and take a look. You can see this is a best adamantine seller, Hammond's Harvesting Handbook. 120 rankings, all 5 stars. I think this might be the most well-reviewed thing we've seen thus far. Volume 2 is a best mithril seller, 53 5-star ratings, and Volume 3 is a best platinum seller, 12 5-star ratings, though this one only came out back in November. So basically what these books are is they answer the question that I'm sure if you're a DM, you've had to answer, or as a player, you've been curious about. We don't have monster bit economy in 5e, right? So if I kill a dragon, I have no concept of what I can do with those dragon parts or how much money I'll make with it, right? So everybody knows that things like dragons in theory are rare. So a dragon claw, a dragon tooth, dragon blood, scales, and so on all seem like they're pretty valuable stuff, I would warrant to guess. In a world where magic is useful, maybe you can use dragon blood as a component for a spell, something like that. But there are no rules in any 5th edition source, official one anyway, that tells you what to do with those bits, how to sell them, what they're worth, or how to use them in anything else. And that is where Hammond's Harvesting Handbook comes in. All 3 of the books, of the different volumes, Volume 1 is for the Monster Manual, Volume 2 is for Volo's Guide, and Volume 3 is for Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. And they provide you with a whole set of mechanics for harvesting, how to harvest, all the different creatures in those books, what can be harvested from them. And then the focus of today's video is several magic items you can craft with them using the different little bits. And then each of the subsequent ones has more stuff. For example, Volume 2 has new spells and Volume 3 has subclasses. But today's focus was about magic items, so I thought I'd give you a sampling from the 3 books to talk about some of the ones that I really like. But unfortunately, right out the gate, Hammond's Harvesting Handbook gets a big thumbs down from Nerd Immersion, as the 3 volumes with all that they've sold have done it without bookmarks. And I don't know how that's possible. There is a ton of stuff in here that would be super grateful to be able to click to jump to immediately. The benefit is that we did just see there is the table of contents is annotated. So if I click on something in the table of contents, it will take me to it. But that doesn't do me any favors when I'm already in the document scrolling around, whereas a bookmark on the side would allow me to get quick access. But as you can see right here, we have all the background information about how to harvest tables. I also like that humanoid creatures have a trinket table of things you could find on them that's interesting. And then all of the different monsters, rules on crafting. And then down here, we can see we have craftable items. And then again, here's all the new background stuff. But we want to jump to craftable items. So these are all different magic items, a variety of rarities that you can see can be crafted by whatever. For example, the Aboleth amulet can be crafted from an Aboleth brain. So I wanted to give you a couple of my favorites that I enjoyed a lot. So we're going to jump to the Debilitating Whip, which is from a Roper Tendril. So this whip has 6 wicked tails made from a Roper Tendril that still has its hair-like growths intact. The wielder of this whip can choose to make a grapple check using the whip instead of their free hand. A creature grappled by this whip is restrained on top of being grappled and has disadvantage on all strength checks and strength saving throws. Now that's pretty powerful, but it also doesn't provide you any extra damage or an increase to attack, and it's rare, and I think that works out well. I think that's pretty cool. I think I'd be fine with it even if it was just one tendril as opposed to 6, but that makes it that much better. The second item is here on this same page, which is a Dino Helm. Partially it's there because of the name, partially because that's pretty cool to have an Ankylosaurus skull turn into a helmet for you to wear. And while wearing it, you can use the attack action to headbutt a creature within 5 feet of you. If you're able to make multiple attacks, you can make multiple attacks with the helmet. When you headbutt a creature, you can make a contested strength test against them, and if you win, they're stunned until the end of your current turn. No damage, but a way to inflict stun, which is pretty sweet. Next up, we're going to skip up to page 135, which was kind of a sillier item that I thought was pretty interesting, is the Magman Pan. This uses a Magman shell, and it's a common magic item. While holding this 1-foot diameter pan, you can speak its command word to cause it to heat itself to any degree up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. You can speak the command word to change its temperature again or turn it off entirely. A nice little quality of life item that you can have for use in your campaign. And in a similar fashion, we have the Pillow. Where is it? Pillow of Perfect Rest, which requires Coatl feathers. A creature sleeping on this pillow only has good dreams and only requires half their usual sleeping time in order to feel properly rested. The length of a long rest is unaffected, though. In addition, a creature sleeping on this pillow is immune to scrying attempts and to any effects that would sense their emotions, read its thoughts, or discern its location. It is also immune to any magical effects that would affect its sleep, such as the dream spell. Only one creature can benefit from this pillow's effect at a time. So again, it would cut the time needed for a long rest in half. Sleeping time, rather. So you'd still have to continue to rest for the long rest, but you'd be able to be awake and aware. All right, moving on to Volume 2 here. We can see, again, if we scroll down to the table of contents, Volume 2 has special tools, additions, and changes, new spells, and then again, a new set of helpers. So we are going to jump to the crafting items. And first up is the Bewildering Bagpipes, because it's made with a grung, the poison dart frog bladder. If a bard uses this instrument as a spellcasting focus while attempting to cast a spell that would impose the charm condition on a target, their range is doubled, which I thought was pretty neat. And there's some really awesome Kirin-based stuff. I don't know how you get it, because Kirin typically are good, so it puts you in a bad spot, but we'll see what they've got. That is the Golden Sun Armor, which requires Kirin scales, so they might give them to you freely. I don't know. And it is Splint Mail. You get a +1 bonus to AC while wearing this armor, so that makes it equivalency of Plate Mail. While wearing this armor, you can cast the Light spell on yourself at will without requiring any components. The light is light shed by this light is considered to be sunlight. So it's +1 Splint Mail, which gives you an AC of 18, which isn't anything too crazy, but the fact that it lets you cast the light spell on yourself is good for creatures that can't see in the dark, but that typical light spell in this particular instance is treated as daylight, so those with sunlight sensitivity and things like that will be affected by it. And then lastly, kind of following again in the Kirin theme, we have the Sunstream Bow, it's called. It takes 7 bolts of Kirin fur. This bow does not require any physical arrows. Instead, whenever it's stringed back, a sun arrow made of solid light is formed in the wielder's hand, which dissipates after 6 seconds. The sun arrow deals an additional d6 radiant damage upon a successful hit, and leaves a trail of sunlight behind them as they fly through the air. The trail illuminates everything in a 5-foot radius, around it is in bright light, and dissipates the start of the wielder's next turn. The sunlight created by these arrows is considered equivalent to a 3rd level spell for the purposes of overcoming magical darkness. So this kind of reminds me of Hank's energy bow from the D&D animated series, which is why I put it on here, because I think it's pretty cool to just shoot beams of light. You also could live your best magical girl life while you have a bow that shoots magical beams of light. And then moving into chapter, or volume 3 rather, we scroll up and look, you'll see a lot of similar things in the table of contents, but you'll also see this whole subclass section, which is new, where they're going to go through all of the different new subclasses that he's added to the game. All right, so first up, as far as the craftable items goes, I'm looking at Death's Grip is the first one that I wanted to go over here, which is made from a pike, which is an item and a weapon we very rarely see, but it's made from a bone claw, which is one of my favorite monsters. You gain a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls with this magic weapon. When you hit a target with this weapon on your turn, you can immediately use your bonus action to attempt to grapple them using this weapon instead of a free hand. If the target is a creature with less than half its hit points, your grapple check is made with advantage. And if successful, they're restrained as well. When you have a creature grappled in this way, you can't do anything. You may not make attacks with this weapon, rather. So it won't limit you entirely, but you won't be able to make attacks with it while you're grappling someone with it. Next up, we have the Necrotic Gauntlets. Find those. Necro Gauntlets. So these require a Death Claw, 2 of them. While wearing these gauntlets, your unarmed strikes deal a d6 necrotic damage instead of the normal for an unarmed strike, and they count as magical for overcoming the purposes of damage resistance. So this could be good for pretty much, I'd say this is probably pretty useful. I mean, it could be useful for monks too, but its primary use would be for other groups that are trying to get to be, or other classes or players trying to get that unarmed strike build. This would help boost it up a little bit by having it deal necrotic damage equal to a d6, as opposed to the standard 1 plus your strength or d4. You know, if you happen to have something like Tavern Brawler. All right, my last one that I have on here is the Permafrost Plate, made from Frost Salamander Scales. While wearing this armor, you are resistant to cold damage. In addition, whenever you take fire damage, you may use your reaction to have that damage and gain a +2 bonus to AC. So it kind of gives you take fire damage, which is pretty commonplace. You could even, in theory, do this with your party, have them deal fire damage to you, which you can use your reaction to have and then boost your own AC off of that, which is pretty sweet. So there you go, folks. That is it would be extremely hard to do an entire in-depth review of all 3 of these volumes. There is just so much content there, but it definitely is worth your time. I'm going to be using these heavily in the second campaign in my homebrew world. It doesn't really make sense to incorporate it now, 115 episodes in, but between this and the couple other crafting guides that we've seen and gone over the past couple years here, I think I'd like to incorporate this and all of them together to truly build a reasonable economy for monster bits and then also crafting of magic items. So I said I was going to tell you there was a code. The code is Harvest Nerds 10. So that's Harvest Nerds with an S and then the number 10. And that is the code that will get you 10% off of your order of $10 or more. And that expires on the 25th of March. Yeah, so March 25th will be the end of that. 10% off orders of $10 or more of community created content on the DMs Guild. So once again, a huge thank you to the DMs team, or the DMs Guild team rather, for supplying both these modules for my review, but also for sponsoring this video and giving us these codes. So hopefully you can make the best use out of that code while you can. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you to my patrons over on Patreon for continuing to support me and the channel. And I will see you all, didn't turn off my YouTube notifications, next time.